Hello, and welcome to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the injury market's top program for doctors, lawyers, and insurers who want to gain greater insight on how to improve patient recovery results and deliver better services in the U.S. injury market. Please welcome your host, Dr. Jeffrey Allen Kronk.
Okay, doctors, what I want to talk about today is the vehicles in your practice. I think it's time to have a talk about the vehicles in your practice. Look, you're sitting in your practice and you're going to devote a lot of time to your private practice. I mean, I know for me, the first 10 years in my private practice, I dedicated 30,000 hours to it. I was 60 hour, 70 hour a week guy, 52 weeks out of the year, right? So I easily in 10 years dedicated 30,000 hours of my life to that practice. Now, nobody told me in my private practice that, hey, you've got these vehicles. So, there's places that you want to go, right? What I mean by that is there's places that you want to go. There's a goal that you have. So a lot of you have the goal of, hey, I'd like to be able to take some time off. I'd like to be able to walk away from my practice and be able to not have to worry about money. I'd like to not have to work 60 or 70 hours a week. I'd like to have my time back. I'd like to get my practice back so it's more under control. I'd like to spend more time with my family or my friends. And I'd like to have a lot less stress in my private practice. So I think those are goals that we all have. I mean, I think if I said to you, look, would you like to make $100K a month, work 20 hours a week, and have the practice pretty much on autopilot? You're all going to say yes, right? Well, that's the thing that results in that is organization. But the thing prior to even organization is an understanding of things. Look, your practice is really simple by the numbers. It's the number of new patients, the number of time you bring these patients back, and the amount you charge per visit. Those are your three main statistics that you run your practice on. Now, when I say you've got vehicles within your practice, you have vehicles that are going to get you where you want to go. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. And a vehicle is anything that you can ride or anything that takes you or moves you in a direction that you want to go. So a bicycle is a vehicle. A mini bike is a vehicle. A scooter is a vehicle. A small motorcycle is a vehicle. A car is a vehicle. A Lamborghini is a vehicle. A jet is a vehicle, right? But they don't all get you to where you want to go at the same speed. So one of the things that I found very, very interesting in my own private practice is I remember, I had done about, 30,000 hours easily. And I'm going to say 15,000. Let's go to the 5-year point. So I'm 5 years in my private practice. I have easily dedicated 15,000 hours in my life. I spent a lot of money on coaching and consulting to get my practice up to really good levels, high levels of production. For me, very profitable and high levels of production. And at that time, I remember sitting in a Sunday afternoon going, gosh, I'm working so hard. I'm like trying to do these Medicare charts and make sure I'm documenting things correctly. So I worked 6 days a week and I would follow up with my paperwork on Sundays because it was a beautiful day to be in my office, right? There was nobody in my office, nobody to bother me, no phones to answer, nothing. I could go in, I could check to see how collections were. I could check my bank accounts. I could actually do the notes. I could catch up on anything that I wanted to catch up on, arrange my clinic any way that I wanted to arrange my clinic, clean it. Something was out of order, or, we got messed up because our production was so high. Fine. I would get all that stuff done on Sundays. But I'm sitting there looking at charts and I'm going, God, I hate this Medicare documentation. And I don't even like the Medicare patients. I like the people, but I don't like the fact that the spine is often so advanced in its condition, it's very hard to work on. And I'm supposed to fix something when really these patients just need maintenance. But, it was very difficult at that time to produce maintenance because maintenance was not a paid product of Medicare, right? Insurance was rapidly changing. So, there was higher deductibles, there was less visits, there was pre-authorizations. And so insurance was becoming kind of a pain in the butt. Work comp was great. I loved it. Just how do I get more of it? And Auto, injuries was great too. I just wasn't doing a lot of it. But what I started to do is I started to realize, gosh, there's things I like working on and there's things I don't like working on. I don't like working on, first time patient being old and degenerated spines. That's not my practice, right? Even though I was in an area that had a lot of older people, had a lot of elderly people. So at the time, my practice had a lot of Medicare patients. So, I just kind of looked and said, gosh, if I'm doing L&I or labor and industry, work comp, or if I'm doing auto, I like it. It's younger patients. It's a bigger challenge. And I don't have to deal with money with the patients. I like that. We don't have to do consultations. I can just go for doing whatever I need to do to get the patient well. I need to gear more of my practice toward those patients. And at that time, I realized there was vehicles. There was vehicles that were going to get me where I wanted to go in private practice. And the most lucrative vehicle, so if I wanted to make $1 million a year in my private practice, right, it would take a lot of Medicare patients. It would take a lot of insurance patients. It would take a lot less injury patients. Like in my private practice, it was probably 1 to 5. It was, for every 5 non-personal injury patients, maybe even higher, maybe even every 7. That's what it took to generate the same amount of income as one injury patient. So let's just say it was 1 to 5, right? So for every 200 people, new patients that I saw, if I saw 40 injury patients, it allowed me to be the same as 200 non-injury patients. Now, those 200 non-injury patients generated a lot of work, right? I had to do work with keeping them on schedule, keeping them on track, motivating them when they needed to be motivated, doing patient consultations, making sure we were collecting the money, making sure we're, all of those things, billing, and people had to bill and, handle denials and do all of that, right? Whereas if I had these 40, there was a lot less work. There was a lot less activity. Now, I liked all patients. I didn't have, it wasn't treating insurance, but I certainly was cognizant of the fact that the more injury work I did, the faster my vehicle was for getting me where I wanted to go, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, doctors, when you're really comfortable, you are a much better doctor. When you're not stressed out all the time and you're not worried all the time, you're a much better doctor. When you're more financially secure, you're a much better doctor. You get more interested in a lot of different things. So one of the things I would definitely suggest is that you sit down and look at the vehicles in your clinic. You have Medicare, you have insurance, you have cash, you have injury work, you have, whether it's work comp or it's auto insurance. You have things like weight loss programs. You have things like neuropathy type programs, right? Maybe some of you have a soft wave and you're into the chronic pain. So there's a lot of different things that you can do, and they're all vehicles. They're all vehicles for getting you where you want to go. The nice thing that I liked about injury work is with injury work, the clinic is the brand. You're not the brand. So you don't get sucked into having to be there, right? With almost all the other types of practice, if you take a patient on a chronic pain, I don't care what you use, that patient is, their allegiance is to you, not to your center. If you move to a different center, they're following you. If you're an associate in that center, they're following you if they can, right? Their allegiance is to you. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing that people are loyal like that, but it's a bad thing because you can't get out of the clinic. Because if you leave the clinic, you take a serious reduction in clinic visits. Whereas with injury patients, they don't care. Right? They're looking at it as they're getting their injury treatment at your center. If it's you, great. If it's someone else, great. They don't have a problem with that. That's the beautiful thing about injury work, and that's why it's the fastest jet in your arsenal of vehicles in your private practice, as far in my experience. There isn't a more faster way to do it. Now, the big thing that most providers have is, okay, that's great, Dr. Cronk, but how in the hell do I get more injury patients? Oh my God, there's so many buckets. There's so many ways to generate personal injury patients in a personal injury practice. There's a lot of different ways to do it, right? And it doesn't all require you going out to attorneys, but if you can communicate, that's a great way. Communicating to medical doctors is a great way. Communicating to public service groups is a great way. Communicating to referral groups is a great way. Communicating to churches is a great way. Communicating and arming your patients with how to actually market for you is a great way. Developing a list of people that you can communicate with is a great way. Communicating with your active current database is a great way. Communicating in such a way when you're doing your procedures so that patients know what it is that you do that's unique so they can communicate it to others is a great way. Training your staff to communicate is a great way. There are so many different ways that you can grow a injury practice. But the first thing you got to do is you got to decide that's what you want to do. You got to decide, like I did, hey, this vehicle, if I'm going to sit in my private practice, I want to generate a clinic that generates the highest level of income per hour that I'm in there, right? And I'm not gouging anybody. I'm not being unethical. I'm not doing anything like that. But I certainly don't have a dislike for income, for clinic income, right? Because I want to pay my employees really well. I want them to be able to go on vacations. I want them paid better than anybody else can pay them so that they stay with me, right? So I want to generate lots of income. And for me, it's the absolute best way to do it. Absolute best way to do it. Doctors today, if you're interested, one of the things we do with the Smart Injury Doctors program is it's a program that I developed to get you back your time, to give you the ability to make more money, to get you back in control of your own private practice by adding more personal injury patients into your clinic. Today, one of the things we do is we have a personal injury performance call. That's where you can just call into 800-940-6513 and set up a call. And in that, we'll give you a personal injury enhancement plan. We'll actually show you 21 different areas that you can enhance, whether you do anything with Smart Injury Doctors or not, ways that you can enhance your private practice so you can generate more injury patients. I highly recommend, doctors, that you sit down and you take a good hard look at the amount of time you're spending in your clinic and the amount of income that you're generating. Now, some of you are generating just fine, right? But some of you also have, we have doctors that come in that have 15, 20,000 patients in their database, but they're not treating any injury patients. And when they come into our program and I say, look, in that 20,000 patient database, you have 2,200 injury incidents in that database every year. You can easily generate all the personal injury work you want to right out of that database. You just need to know how to do it. So doctors, if you're interested and you look at this vehicle, give us a look. Give Smart Injury Doctors a look. Give us a call. Check us out. Come out to our free resources and definitely stay on these podcasts. Doctors, every time I do a podcast, it's short, sweet, and to the point. Hopefully you got something to kind of bing around in your head a little bit and go, yeah, that's a good thought. I need to take a step back and really decide. Because remember, what you're deciding, just so you know, what you're deciding is you're deciding a direction, and that direction over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years can have make a serious difference in your life. So take a look at getting more injury patients. Be the ethical doctor that's results-based. Do a great job. Understand the simplicity of the documentation. And then put into your community one hell of a good spinal injury center. Doctors, as always, I thank you very much for your time and attention. Hopefully something I said to you resonates. And I look forward to speaking with you or at you or to you on the next podcast.
You've been listening to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the #1 audio production show for professionals in the U.S. injury market that want to deliver better injury services to the patients, clients, or insureds they serve. If you like what you heard today, please leave us a review and don't forget to join us on our next program.